Fuck around, make my 40 pop.
Alright guys, volume 1 of Boruto is going to be released I believe tomorrow, but we've already gotten some important details or some good details from the actual volume and some actual comments from Ikimoto himself and some of the Boruto writers, and I think this right here is going to be pretty substantive and outlining what we've already seen but what we're probably going to get to see in the future. Now the first thing that I do want to talk about has to be this one blurb from Ada's abilities, and I think this right here was probably like one of the most interesting ones, and I think this right here could either be a recap of Shibai or that plus more things that could definitely have some impact in the future. So first things first, it says Kami Otsuki used to be a god in a world that no longer exists. It is said that he used this technique to create the current world and its infinite possibilities. It is the ultimate power to materialize any thought or idea into reality. However, this power can only be wielded by Kami Otsuki himself, making it a power beyond control for Ada. Currently, Ada's ability is limited to manifesting her untapped desires into reality without any conscious control over it. Alright, so that pretty much seems like a good recap of Shibai Otsuki and what omnipotence pretty much is. And to be honest, I don't know if it's just me, but omnipotence definitely seems like a divine version of creation of all things from Hagoromo Otsutsuki. If you guys do recall the Jutsu of creation of all things, it sounds relatively similar to what omnipotence actually is. Originally, I kind of had the idea that omnipotence is just more or less like the idea of changing people's minds, but after the course of reading pretty much a bunch of other stuff and now with this recap, we're pretty much starting to understand omnipotence is pretty much whatever you want to make it. Momoshiki talks about omnipotence chapter 79. I personally do believe Shibai is probably not going to be the only Otsutsuki member that we do see in the series that we do see with the ability of omnipotence. Now, specifically, one of the things that Momoshiki did actually say is, he said, people's consciousness are originally connected through their chakras. For a god, it's impossible to alter this. Didn't you ever think about it? How many times the memories of your mankind have been tampered with? It was by the hands of Otsutskis who became gods. Now in that specific statement right there, Momoshiki himself, it was by the hands of the Otsutskis who once became gods. And Momoshiki right there is using a lot of plural words. So in my personal opinion, it's definitely a possibility that, hey, maybe there are going to be other Otsutsuki members that do come into the series that have this omnipotence abilities. And of course, one of the greatest theories of them all, we do have two mysterious stone tablets that was in the dimension with the 10 tails, and those two stone symbols were completely crossed off. So hypothetically, if one of them could be Shibai, another one could be another Otsutsuki member that also has omnipotence. Now, one of the other things that was kind of made clear from this particular blurb from Ikimoto himself when he was actually describing Ada's omnipotence, he basically said that this ability, omnipotence, was used to create the world and its infinite possibilities. This right here got me thinking, what else could be omnipotence? I imagine if originally the first Hokage was supposed to be Madara Uchiha, and then someone put omnipotence on everybody and made everybody believe that Madara was actually the bad guy and the Uchihas were actually the Senju and the Senju were actually the Uchiha. So yo, when it comes to possibilities and when it comes to omnipotence, this thing is probably going to be one of the craziest things because it brings almost everything into question. Not only currently, but literally 500 episodes of Naruto and also 200 plus episodes of Boruto as well. It brings everything before Boruto TBV into complete question. Another thing that we do have to kind of ask ourselves, will Ada gain the power to wield this ability even better? Like one of the things that we were kind of thinking about across the time skip was maybe Ada is going to get better in her abilities to use omnipotence, and maybe eventually she'd be able to like kind of reverse omnipotence. Now at this particular time, that seems like extremely far-fetched, but also we do have to point out, I mean, there have been other series in the past where it's like, hey, one person has the ability, but they have to use someone else to actually be able to utilize the ability correctly. And if that's the case, then you have the ability. One of the popular theories out there is potentially Boruto and Ada linking up and Kawaki and Ada kind of breaking up. This right here could potentially create a dangerous dynamic where Boruto essentially has omnipotence without actually being a god, because if you guys do recall, one of Ada's driving forces for actually using omnipotence was love. She essentially wanted to do whatever Kawaki wanted her to do, and that right there essentially gave Kawaki the ability to use omnipotence. Now from that point, Kawaki never really tried to dive deeper into Ada's ability to possibly even try to use it. So I guess in this particular scenario, the reverse is also possible as well. Maybe Kawaki starts to wisen up and starts to warm up to Ada to where now he essentially has the ability of omnipotence, and he's also able to completely use and wield the ability of omnipotence. I'm going to talk about omnipotence a lot more. I've probably said omnipotence probably like 60 times in this video. One of the next comments that we did get from Ikimoto, by the way, shout out to Chibi Boruto just chilling in the back. This right here is going absolutely platinum on Twitter. But getting into the actual comments, he says, the final chapter has finally arrived, and we are now diving headfirst into the youth arc. The subtitle Two Blue Vortex has been shortened to TB, and we're starting off where we left off in Volume 1. Some may say, oh, there's a Volume 1 out? Let me take a look. But if you're one of those who exclaimed, wait a minute, is this a continuation of Naruto Next Generation Volume 1? I'm sorry to say that it's not. The main story continues from Naruto Next Generation, the so-called youth arc. For those who are unfamiliar with, feel free to just check it out. Or better yet, just enjoy the ride while imagining the past events. But once you start reading, you might find yourself curious about what happens next, then about what has happened before. Brace yourself for what's to come. Alright, so this right here seems very, very promising. I mean, one of the things that a lot of people have pretty much been talking about when it comes to the time skip of Boruto was they wanted a different, let's say, vibe from part 1 of Boruto, and it seems like, if anything, this right here kind of hints towards that. Me personally, I don't necessarily think it's going to be that big of a deal right now. I think one of the things that I'm really waiting on has to be the anime. I mean, I think the Boruto manga for me personally has always been absolute fire, always dropping dimes. In my personal opinion, one of the top mangas out. I've already thought that the Boruto manga was going to be that good. The big thing for me was going to be the Boruto anime. As we all know, the Boruto anime has its problems. It's kind of why it's been on hiatus as of right now. And not only just the actual administrative problems, but also the tenor of the actual anime as well. We wanted a more serious version of the anime coming off of Naruto Shippuden, which was almost always serious. I mean, a lot of people were kind of thrown off by going into a more childish vibe in the anime. And I think if they could actually bring what we're feeling in the manga to the anime, that right there would be a very, very good change. So I'm hoping this right here is definitely going to extend itself into like being not necessarily the continuation of Naruto Next Generation from the anime. I'm hoping it's going to be just Boruto in the anime now, or Boruto TB in the anime now. So I'm hoping for that. But let me know what you guys think about this information in the comment section down below. By the way, as I said a bit earlier, the volume comes out tomorrow. One of the things that I do want to kind of encourage you guys to do is actually purchase the physical copies of the Boruto volume. By the way, this doesn't help me or any way like that, or kind of does help me, I guess. Boruto gets money, I guess it does become a better product. But regardless, never mind that. I do want to recommend you guys actually do buy the physical copy. One of the best ways to actually directly support the manga that you do actually like is to purchase the physical copy of the volume. And I honestly do believe the sales of the volumes is probably going to be like a big thing as well. Everybody's going to be talking about the volume 1 sales of Boruto, so if you guys could actually boost those numbers, it'd be absolutely amazing. But let me know what you guys think. It's me, your boy Bar B, and we out.
It's a knife.